Well, hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Scott Annan, and I'm a professor in the math department at Cal State Fullerton. During the spring of 2022, I'm going to be teaching differential equations and linear algebra. And you're probably watching this video because you're going to be in my class. I'm looking forward to meeting you, and I am looking forward to this class. However, the powers that be have told us recently that we're going to start our semester with remote or virtual instruction. This is because of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, and I'm hopeful that this will get put behind us in short order and that I will actually get to meet you all face-to-face sooner rather than later. However, before we get started with the semester, I thought it might be good for me to make a video to talk about the class, to go over the syllabus, to show you around our Canvas webpage so that you'll be able to move right into the semester, hopefully without a lot of road bumps, because we're already going to be somewhat oriented to how things are going to work. So what I'm going to do in this video is take a few minutes to share my screen with you and talk about a few things that are related to the class. What you should be looking at right now, guys, is the homepage of our Canvas learning management system. So this is the homepage, and if you're enrolled in my class, you should have access to this particular page. Now, on this homepage, you'll see that I have a syllabus, a timeline, some learning goals, and I'd like to start by taking a quick look through the syllabus to give you an idea how the semester is going to run. And then we'll come back and we'll kind of look at some of the other parts of the web page so that you'll know where to find things, and we'll be able to get started with things whenever you're ready. So let me go ahead and open our syllabus here. This is the syllabus for my Math 250B class. First thing I want to point out is I do have two sections of this class. One of them is offered on Mondays and Wednesdays from 12 o'clock until 2 o'clock. And then I have a second section immediately after that from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Anybody in my classes needs to be enrolled in one of those two sections. However, I will tell you right now that should it be for some reason on a particular day and time more convenient for you to attend the other section than the one you're officially enrolled in, there should not be a problem with that, okay? And in fact, that's totally okay with me. I would rather have you make it to class rather than have to miss the class completely. It's really important that you come to the lectures and that you get a chance to hear exactly out of my mouth how I like to talk about these topics, okay? So anyway, so there's two classes, 12 o'clock and then again at 2 o'clock. Every single class period, those two sections will be exactly the same. So there's no real difference. Now, if we should get back to face-to-face teaching, hopefully sooner rather than later, our classroom is McCarthy Hall 615, okay? We're not going to use that classroom at all during the first 2 weeks of the semester. After the first 2 weeks, it's kind of wait and see at the moment. We'll have to see what goes on with the pandemic and what the university decides. But at least for the first 2 weeks, we will be meeting remotely. And so I have set up some Zoom rooms, some meeting rooms in Zoom for us to have some meetings, particularly during the first 2 weeks, but also if it should happen to be needed later in the semester as well. So here is the meeting ID for our Zoom classroom. And you might want to bookmark that or save that somewhere that you can access it later. And then here is the meeting ID number for my Zoom office hours. So certainly for the first 2 weeks of the semester, if not longer, I will be using the Zoom office hours exclusively for my office hours. All right. Hopefully we'll get back to face-to-face. I'd love for you guys to go. This is actually my physical office. So I have quite a bit of room in here, a nice couch and tables to work on and stuff. So I'm hoping that you may actually get to see the inside of this room at some point a little bit later on down the line. But at least initially, the best way to get live conversation with me is going to be through my Zoom office hours. You notice I have a lot of office hours here. I've got them listed in this table on my syllabus page. And if these hours don't work for you, then by all means, you're certainly also welcome to send me an email and we can set up another time to talk. I do have Friday office hours, even though we don't have classes on Fridays. That's because a lot of times there will be homework that is due on Fridays. And in fact, the very first assignment for this semester will be due on Friday, January 28th. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but there will be some Friday homework deadlines. And so I'm going to try to be around on Friday evenings in case you've got some questions about the homework before you turn it in. Here's my email address. If you ever need to reach me, feel free to shoot me an email that way. The textbook for this class is the 4th edition, has to be the 4th edition of Differential Equations and Linear Algebra. It's written by yours truly, along with one of my colleagues, Stephen Good. We've been using this book for a long time. It doesn't really matter if you have a e-copy of the book or whether you have a physical copy of the book. That's entirely up to you. Just make sure that it is the 4th edition. If you try to use an earlier edition of the book, you're going to get frustrated because the sections are different, the problems are different, and it's just going to be a lot of work to sort of get onto the right topics in the older editions of the book. So try to use only the 4th edition of the book. This course is all about differential equations and the relationship to linear algebra. One of the things I love about this class is how those two subjects kind of work together, right? We're actually going to learn a lot of linear algebra, and then we're going to actually apply it to differential equations, which is an extremely important topic in the real world in its own right, whether you're talking about engineering or physics or chemistry or any of the sciences, really. There will always be applications of differential equations there. And in order to maximize our ability to use differential equations, we're going to learn some linear algebra as well, which happens to be a very important topic in its own right. So I hope that you're going to love the course as much as I enjoy talking about it and teaching it. This has definitely been the course that I've had the most experience with and the good fortune to delve into on many, many occasions throughout my teaching career. Let's see, I've got the grading scheme down here on the syllabus as well. There'll be just a little bit for homework and quizzes. We probably won't have many quizzes, by the way. I'll announce those if I am going to give you a quiz. We don't have a lot of class time for quizzes. I might give you some mock quizzes that you can just do on your own, just for your own practice, and give you some solutions to those. Most likely, we won't do a lot of in-class quizzes, however. But the homework, on the other hand, will be substantial. It does take a lot of practice to get good at this material. And so I am going to ask you guys to do quite a bit of homework. You should be prepared for that. This class will take a fair bit of your time. But the payoff is you're going to learn a ton of great stuff between now and the end of the semester. So it'll be worth it. Trust me. We're going to have 3 midterms and a final as well. So there's sort of 5 different parts to your grade, right? There's the homework, there's the 3 midterms, and then there's the final. Whichever of those 5 components of your grade is the best, I'm going to make that part of your grade worth more. I'm not going to change your score on that part of your grade, but I'm going to make it count for 5% extra weight in the grade calculation. And at the same time, I'm going to take whichever of those 5 scores was the lowest, and I'm going to downweight it by 5% so that it counts even less against you. As we go through the semester, you're not going to see the effects of that reweighting because I can't do it until all of the scores are in. But you can kind of in the back of your mind be counting on a little bump at the end of the semester. When I do this reweighting, it usually makes about a 3 or 4% difference for most students in terms of what their grade actually is, their overall weighted percentage. So work really hard as if your grade is what it says in Canvas, but just know in the back of your mind that you might get pleasantly surprised at the end of the semester. My grading scale, speaking of that, it is listed here all the way down. I don't use a standard 90, 80, 70 scale. So for example, to get a C, just to get a bare bones C, a 65 would be good enough for that, right? To get a bare bones, well, let's say a B minus, a 75 would be good enough for that, right? So it's a little bit more of a generous grade scale than maybe sometimes you've seen. Here are the dates for the exams. And again, you can attend whichever section, the 12 o'clock class or the 2 o'clock class for any of these exams. It's totally up to you. I will be having you scan your solutions to the exam into Canvas when the exam is over. So all of my grading and everything is going to be done online. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we're going to be back face-to-face for these exams and that we'll be able to actually do them in the regular classroom. But then I'm going to ask you at the end of the exam to take pictures of your solutions and submit them online. We'll talk more about the exams, how those are going to be structured, and the procedures. We'll talk much more about that later on when we actually get close to the time to take an exam. Attendance, I mentioned earlier, it's really important to try to come to the class. I work really hard on these lectures. They are an art form for me. I really try my best to make these fun to listen to, engaging, clear, all of that. And I would hate for you to miss out on that. I don't take attendance. Like if you're not there, it's not going to mess you up in terms of anything that particular class. But you really do want to make sure that you're getting all of the work done. You want to make sure that you're attending the lectures and watching the videos and so on whenever those are being offered. Sorry, there's a little bit of background noise going on in the room right now. I hope that you can still hear me okay. And I may make announcements during class, and I will be holding you responsible to know all of those. I will assume that you know all of those announcements. Okay, there's also some important dates pertaining to withdraw. I've listed those here, and I'll let you read that part on your own. Homework, whenever we do have homework, it's going to be due at 10 p.m. So on whatever days the homework is due, it won't be due until 10 p.m. That'll give us time throughout the day to answer questions about it, perhaps in office hours or even in our regular classes. When you do submit your homework in Canvas, please try very carefully to submit your pages in the correct order. Make sure that your name is on those pages. Try to leave space between the problems. Try to write fairly big and fairly clear. I'm going to have somebody assigned to help me grade papers. And I want this to be as easy as possible for that individual. So do your best to kind of follow my guidance here. I'll let you read it in more detail on your own. But it is really helpful if you can be as neat and as organized and as correctly laid out with the pages as possible. Okay, so pretty please in advance, please try to do that when you're putting together your homework. Qualitative performance, that's another one of these things that's, that will allow me to bump a student's grade up. If you're very close to a cutoff, but the numbers just don't quite get you there. Well, if you've done some of these things, and these are not things that I have scores for, it's just things that are kind of in my mind through the course of meeting you in the semester and sharing these 15 weeks with you, right? How much did you participate in the class, right? Did you work hard? Were you coming to office hours? Did you improve as the semester went on? If I have something along those lines, any of those kinds of things, I can use that to justify bumping your grade up a little bit. Okay, so just bear that in mind as well. Academic integrity has been a challenge with remote teaching and learning and giving exams online. Fingers crossed, I'm hoping that we're going to be back face-to-face before we get around to any exams. But whether it's an in-class or a take-home exam, there are obviously rules about what you're allowed to do and so on. And I've got some examples of academic dishonesty here that you really need to be aware of. I'm assuming you will be aware of these. Item number 4 came up last semester. I had students that were copying solutions from Chegg and from Slater. And it's very easy for me to figure out when people do this, by the way, because the solutions that they write up in those online solution manuals, don't usually look anything like the way I teach the material or the way I would have written a solution to those problems. So you're just asking for trouble if you're going online looking for solutions that way. So please don't do that. I had to report a lot of people last year for doing it, and I don't want to have to go down that path again and have to talk to the Office of Student Conduct or whatever. Don't want to do it. So let's just do this above board. Let's be honest. Let's have integrity, and everything should be just fine. Great. Just a few more pieces of information at the end of the syllabus. If you have special needs or just need to know about emergency preparedness, there is a link here that you can follow and be prepared for those things. And I would like to really get to know you guys this semester. Initially, at least, it's going to be through Zoom, but I'm hoping that soon enough, we will have a chance to meet face to face. If you would please stop by either my Zoom office, or if it's after we've come back to campus, my physical office, for 5 minutes, just to say hello and just to introduce yourself, I am going to drop your 2 lowest homeworks. We're going to have about 24 homeworks this semester. It's quite a lot, but I am going to drop your 2 lowest of those homeworks if you'll just come by for 5 minutes just to introduce yourself. It helps me to learn your names and just a quick little one-on-one to kind of learn a little bit about what your goals are and what your plans are. Try to do that by Friday, February 18th. I think that's a pretty good amount of time. It's about 4 weeks that you can just swing by and do that. You can also just do it sometime when you're stopping by to ask questions on the homework. We can just also tack that on as well. So I really would like to get to know you guys this semester. So that's why I have that in there. So that's the syllabus. If there are any questions about it, oh, I forgot to mention here at the bottom, I have a list of learning goals for Math 250B. You can see there's a lot of stuff here, right? This is a pretty big list of things. So we're going to be busy. We're going to have a lot of content to cover. I will sometimes ask you to watch outside videos that I have produced in addition to just our regular class times. So just be prepared for that. And there will be a lot of homework as well. It's just necessary. It is absolutely necessary in order for you to really learn the stuff and be able to succeed. If you have any questions about this, anything on the syllabus, feel free to shoot me an email and I will do my best to get back to you and try to address it. Hopefully, most of your questions are addressed here in the document itself, but I'm always open for further questions. That is, of course, the syllabus is right here on the homepage of our class. There's also a timeline here. Maybe I'm not going to spend too long on this, but just open this up really quickly. This is a nice handout that has a bunch of the important dates about withdrawals and adding a class, when the exams are, when the holidays are, and then a rough schedule down here, which I may not always be able to follow perfectly, but a rough schedule of what topics and what sections we're going to be covering on what days. So just to give you kind of a heads up about how things are going to look as far as that goes. So that's a timeline. But the main things that you'll be wanting to look at on the webpage are going to be over here on the left. Well, obviously the assignments. Maybe I'll just open the assignments really quick. Again, sorry about the background noise in the building right now. These are the homework assignments right here. The first assignment, the first real assignment will be due on Friday, January 28th. However, I do want to mention that there is going to be a video assignment in January, and you can actually start this assignment anytime you like. What it consists of is to watch all of the videos that I have produced in the January videos folder of our webpage. I'll show it to you in just a moment. I've actually recorded the material already for the first week of the semester. So we're not going to meet even in Zoom for the first week of the semester, other than just my office hours. So for the first week's material, you're going to watch the videos that I've made in the January videos folder. And you're going to take notes on that lecture content and then scan those notes right here into this assignment. And the due date for this is somewhere towards the end of January. I think January 26th. I want everybody to have watched the videos before you've worked on the first homework assignment. Okay. So anyway, that is kind of just a preliminary assignment to get us through the first week of material. Most of the assignments, as you can see, are going to be much more standard. Here there's really just the first 4 that you need to be looking at this point. The due dates, all of them will be due at 10 p.m. This is really what you need to be paying attention to. If I go to the pages section of the Canvas Learning Management System, here is that folder, the January videos folder. And if you look inside of there, well, the link to this syllabus video is there, along with all of these other videos. There's about 5 of them here, and I've tried to point out how much time is involved. It's about 4 hours of videos, I think. It adds up to about the amount of class time that we would have for 1 week of the semester. So you can watch these at any time. Whenever you're ready, take some notes on them, scan them into Canvas, and you can email me if you have questions about anything in these videos. Okay, so that is one video or one section of the pages folder. There's also these things that say review sessions. Those are for all of the exams that we're going to take. So I'll talk to you more about those later. But I did also want to point out that my class lectures will be posted here in this folder. So as we go along through the semester, right, my class lectures would be in this folder. Right now, there's nothing in there because we haven't had any lectures yet. Okay. And then there are some additional videos here as well. These are not required that you watch them right now. I'll be pointing you in the direction of some of these videos from time to time when I think it might be beneficial for you to watch them. But this is just stuff that I've done. I've made these YouTubes through the years, and they're actually out on the internet for anybody to see. And I just wanted you guys to be aware of them as well. And I may assign you at some point to watch some of these. But for right now, I just want you to know that those videos are here. So the pages section right here that I'm scrolling my cursor across, that has all of the video content for everything we're going to do for this semester. Okay. But the other folder that's going to be important is the one that says files. And in this files folder, there's a lot of folders here. And you can see again, there's a final exam. Well, there's final exam resources, midterm resources. I've got a bunch of folders like that. But there are a few other things. There are, well, the syllabus is in here. There are also some special handouts. Again, you don't need to worry about these right now. I will point you in the direction of this folder and the handouts that you need to look at when the time comes for that. Okay, so I'll let you know about that as well. I'll be posting the homework solutions in here. You'll be able to click into the homework solutions and find all the solutions to all the problems that you're doing. And then there's also this thing called GroupWorks. If we're able to get back face-to-face into the regular classroom this semester, I will try to do some of these GroupWorks with you in small groups at the whiteboards in the classroom, okay? Until we get to that point, I probably will just throw some of these in as extra practice during our lectures, during my Zoom lectures. So you don't really need to worry a lot about this yet. I'll be, again, guiding you to when you should be looking at the GroupWorks. The solutions to all of these GroupWorks will also be here. This stuff is all going to stay up for the whole semester. Won't be a secret. You can always come find anything that you're looking for. It should be here, okay? The only thing that's not posted, of course, would be the homework solutions, but I will be posting those as we go along, as you turn in the homework assignments. So hopefully this all makes sense. It's really the files and pages section along with the assignments that you'll be needing to refer to. So this was just a quick tour of the Canvas webpage for our Math 250B course and a quick run through of our syllabus. I hope that it's mostly made sense and it's kind of clear how things are going to look. Again, for the first 2 weeks of the semester, we will not be meeting face-to-face. All of my office hours will be remote. And the first week of the semester, you're just going to watch those January videos on your own. Whenever is a good time for you, you can watch those videos. For the second week, I do plan to be giving lectures through Zoom during our class time. So just keep that in mind, that starting with the second week, I'm going to be giving you live synchronous lectures that you can come listen to and interact with me, ask questions, and so on. Starting with the third week, supposedly we're going to be back face-to-face. Not counting my chickens on that one yet, but that's the plan for now. And I'll be communicating with you as we go along if there are changes that may come up. Okay, that's all I've got for this video. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch it. As I said earlier, I am really looking forward to the semester. I'm looking forward to this class and to getting to meet you guys and share with you one of my biggest mathematical passions, which is differential equations and linear algebra. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Stay safe, be careful out there, and we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.